we now have another newest, just okay. We got a new PTR patch, and I briefly looked over it, and I'm not exactly sure what to think. And this is also supposedly their final iteration, but since it's on PTR and not released, I assume they may still change something, but it'll probably be like mostly this, and then one or two small changes, and then it'll just go live. That'd be my guess. Anyways, so yeah, this is going to be another discussion for the 1.35 PTR patch that may actually be going live sometime soon-ish, possibly, sort of, maybe. So first things first, they found out how to change the revive time factor, which means there may be more instances where people go for altar revive rather than just tavern rebuy. And I think that's a good change. You should be able to rebuild from your altar more often. So I don't hate this. This is good. I don't know what it changes particularly, besides exactly what it says it does, meaning more often you'll maybe revive from the altar. But I think it's good. I don't know who it I guess I just don't know who it benefits the most, if it benefits one race more than the other. I don't know. But yeah, here, this is a weird change. So they're doing a lot with these mirror images. Let's see. So overall, they still have the 15% base damage, but now they also give XP, which is just what? Not only do they give XP, but they don't even tell us how much XP. So it's like, is it 1 XP? Is it a full hero XP, like 100 or something? Does it change based on the Blade Master's level? This is just a weird change. Maybe it's like 20 XP per illusion. Maybe it's like 12. I think 20 XP is probably what I would expect. And this does make a big difference, but I don't know if this is the right sort of change. I feel like this is something that shouldn't be added. Another comment I've wanted to make for the Blade Master mirror image now that the Blade Master mirror image does damage, does that change how creeps interact with it when it pulls creeps? How do creeps exactly interact with an illusion that does damage compared to an illusion that doesn't? Because an illusion that doesn't, you can just attack the creep and then walk away, and they won't bolt it or whatever, right? But if you attack a creep or whatever with I think you can attack, I don't know. But if you go there with a mirror image, does it change? Do they just instantly bolt because it's a hero and does damage? Or, yeah. Anyways, I don't know. The whole mirror image thing is weird, but I guess it makes Blade Master stronger, which, okay. Mortar Team HP reverted. I think that's a good change. I think this was something they wanted to do with some of their other changes when they're doing this siege engine changes and whatever, but I don't think it's needed. So I'm kind of glad it got reverted. I think mortars were already good as they were. You know, they can benefit from heal scrolls and stuff like that already. You know, Holy Light, and Priest Heal, which is something a lot of other Siege can't do. I think that's good to get it reverted. Keeper of the Grove Entangle duration is now only slightly reduced. So I believe it, or is this reduced even further from before? I think this is slightly reduced from what the current is, right? Does it show up down here? So was this? I forget what Entangle's initial values were, like on the live patch. If this is the live patch numbers or what? Because if this is the current patch numbers, then these reduced ones are like very small difference, right? But I can't tell because these numbers are wrong somewhere. I thought this was like 9, 18, 30, and then it got reduced to like 8, 16, 24 or whatever. But this doesn't say that. It says 9, 16. I don't know. Either way, I think this means the Entangle nerf is less than it was before, but still getting nerfed. And this makes me think Keeper will probably still be used quite a lot. Like losing duration on the level 2 Entangle does matter quite a bit, but if it's only 1 second, I mean, you can deal with it, especially when your level 1 Entangle is still as long as it is. So I think Keeper will still be strong. But he does need extra hits now, right? He still needs like an extra, well, literally just one more extra hero hit. But one more extra hit from your Keeper might also mean you're taking one extra hit from like an Archmage plus a Water Ellie and maybe a Footman as well. And so this could mean every Entangle you're taking like an extra 50 damage to get the kill secured. It depends. Depends what you have. Immolation initial mana cost reduced. That's cool. And it still has the other Immolation buffs as far as I know. So I think Immolation might actually be strong, but it's really hard to tell because normally AoE spells on a first hero are not too good. The only like for Undead, AoE spells like Frost Nova on a first hero, like that's good, but that's because it has Ritual as well. But other heroes, like you don't go Fan of Knives on Warden, you go, Shadow Strike. And you don't go Blizzard, you don't like Blood Mage at all, unless you're AKM. So it's hard to tell how much impact an AoE spell is going to have, because like I said, normally you don't get AoE spells right away. You go for single target spells. So I don't know, we'll see. But Immolation does look like it could be strong. And this initial mana cost, I guess this is a good change. Honestly, I think I would almost like it if they even reduced this further and then increased the other mana cost, like the mana drain, so that you can turn Immolation on and off more often. But it's probably good as is. And then here for Undead, I just don't understand, man. How does Lich go through 20 years of Warcraft and still stand OP. These changes are on top of what they did before. So they have it listed here as well. I might like briefly go through those. But these are like the new changes. But yeah, Nova ends up untouched basically after this. Ritual is slightly nerfed because this used to be 12 to 14, 15, somewhere in there. I think it might have been like 12 seconds or something. And now it's like 20, but that's better than 25. But they are getting rid of the return mana as well, which is probably a good change. 50 compared to 66 is a big difference. It's something, you know, and Lich gets a small nerf with Ritual, but the thing is, Lich doesn't even play Ritual in some matchups, right? It's only when you're playing Lich first that you're doing this. Which means you don't actually have to nerf this. You can instead nerf Haunted Goldmine, Nerubian Tower, and etc. They are nerfing Haunted Goldmine by 10 seconds, but not the Nerubian. So, you know, Lich might still be used first hero in some situations. Okay, and that's all that's new. So looking at the overall thing, humans get better lumber cost, more peasant HP, more breaker armor, you know, some kind of meaningless changes with polymorph and mechanical critter sight range being better, barrage being better, kind of like whatever. But they do get control magic nerf, which is a big deal, particularly against treants and wolves. So I don't know, it's hard to tell. It means tier 2 breakers are not as oppressive, but the thing is they're still going to have priests. They can still just dispel instead of steal. And now they don't have to research control magic. So it's a big change, but it's not like game over or something. It's not like breakers are bad or anything. And then these are the big ones. Orb of Fire, 75 gold cheaper, but 2 less damage. And Staff of Sanctuary, 50 gold cheaper. So 125 less gold you're spending once you're buying your items on tier 3. So when you do actually go tier 3, like those are pretty big pickups now. Human overall getting buffed, and we'll see how it goes. Orc, Blade Master, Mirror Image XP, Mirror Image damage, just weird. I don't know why it's there. Liquid Fire no longer prevents repairs, but reduces the repair rate. Okay, whatever, no one cares. Stasis Trap stuff, no one cares. They actually got rid of this, which no one cares. Because I'm pretty sure this is the actual heal ward's HP rather than like it's healing per second. It's like, you know, how much damage it takes to kill it, which, whatever, no one cares. Brute Strength. So Brute Strength is going through with 25 more health to Grunts. So Grunts, which were already used a lot versus Human and Elf, will likely still see use against Human and Elf. Because you see a lot of the times they might go Headhunters first against Human, but they'll still transition to Grunts. And versus Elf, they'll just go Grunts the whole time. Now they just get an extra 25 health on each of them. That's kind of a big deal. Blade Storm, cooldown reduction, no one cares. Great Hall build time. So they do get 10 seconds faster build time, but it is still like the longest build time. So it's big, but at least it's not, you know, 15, 20 seconds faster. It's only 10 seconds. I think that's fine. Feral Spirits costing more mana, that is huge. But they also get Chain Lightning for cheaper. So Farseer Headhunters will still be a thing. Blade Master is stronger. Grunts are stronger. Headhunters get a very, 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 very negligible nerf, 2-second build time. So Orc is strong and overall buffed, I would say. Yeah, I would say overall buffed, especially with this Great Hall build time testing is faster as well. Elf, Tranquility, nerf. Needed. Starfall, buff, but no one really cares. Entangle, nerfed, but as far as I can tell, not a lot. 1 second on level 2. I'm not sure if these are all the correct numbers. They've switched it a few times, so yeah. But it looks like a small nerf, which means Keeper will still be fine, although Trank Laming, level 6 Keeper Trank Laming is not so much a thing because it has 60 more seconds on the cooldown. Thorn's Aura is better, but you're still not playing Thorn's Aura generally. So whatever. You might see this more in Elfmere, and that's about it. I mean, you might see some Thorn's Aura picked versus Orc as well, but I wouldn't say this is like the make or break in the matchup type of thing. Mountain Giant changes is kind of whatever. Supposedly stronger tier 2, but maybe weaker on tier 3 with the upgrades than they were before, or maybe even. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But Mountain Giants are whatever. Ultravision requires tier 2, so kind of a big nerf for certain strategies, particularly Huntress strategies, which are already dying out. I feel you really only see like Foggy do a lot of Huntress stuff still, besides Huntresses versus Orc. Otherwise, you don't see Huntresses much at all versus Undead or even Elf these days, or versus Human either. Immolation gets buffs though, so this is like the big thing that could change how Elf is played. So their new change that we talked about just a second ago. Initial cost is down, mana drain is down, damage interval is better, so the actual DPS is also better. They still didn't fix this number. It's supposed to say 18, obviously. But yeah, Immolation, we'll see if it's a thing. It's really hard to tell. Because it could be really strong, particularly against human. Potentially against undead ghoul pushes, but if the undead sees you have Immolation, they can always just back off, right? They can literally just stop their push, put the ghouls back on Blight and Tech, and they don't really suffer. So it's mostly against human where this could matter, and it could be big, but we'll see how it functions in actual play. It's hard to tell because of like how much more reliable the damage tick is, and the mana cost makes a big difference too because you drain your Moonwells less afterwards. Piercing damage, Crow form is weird. I don't know why they did this at all, but it maybe makes Talon stronger, particularly against the fact that it can beat anti-caster destroyers, which is weird. Crow form, less mana. That's a good change though. Druid of the Claw, less mana. But I think it's just 25 total and not like 25 mana per upgrade. I think when you get like Adept and Master, those still give the same incremental upgrades. They just have like 25 less mana. So you should still be able to do like Rejuve Roar and then Morph or something. You just can't really do Rejuve Morph as easily when Barrier first comes out. So overall, Elf is it's something. I mean, now with the Entangler nerf looking more negligible, I mean, still kind of annoying there, but kind of negligible. Elf is slight nerfs, but they have some interesting tools now as well with the immolation and the piercing crow form. But overall, Elf is nerfed a little. So it's kind of like Orc is around even or slightly buffed. Like their nerfs are very negligible. Human gets a lot of buffs. Elf gets slight nerfs, but also some buffs that could actually be better than the nerfs, but it's hard to tell until actual play. I think the immolation might still end up being negligible or not used. At least not beyond like level 1 or 2 immolation. I don't know, we'll see. Because you still kind of want mana burn. You kind of want evasion later as well, so you survive. Undead. So Undead does get nerfs, but they're very small nerfs now. Like there used to be a lot of nerfs, and now there's only one big nerf, and everything else is kind of whatever. So statues is the big nerf. They not only give more XP, which I think they could have got rid of if they were going to do this, which they're doing. They're making mana. It restores less mana. So if they're going to do this, they don't actually have to increase statue XP. They can just get rid of this line if they want, and that'd probably still be fine enough. Because this really only benefits Orc anyways, for the most part. Retrain for immolation, like immolation first and then retrain it to mana burn later, or the other way around. Because I think you wouldn't go immolation late game unless you're against like Orc. Yeah, there's like these small nerfs here, anti-magic shield and whatever. The movement speed for both Undead and Orc, that's cool to see nerfed to more. Because level 1 is already good and it's staying the same, so whatever. Disease Cloud, whatever. So yeah, it's mostly the statue mana. 10-second Haunted Goldmine. It's small, but it helps. I would have, as I've said multiple times before, I would have preferred to see an Nerubian Tower nerfed instead. And then somehow Lich only gets this ritual nerf. So longer cooldown, because this was their patch cooldown. Yeah, it was 15 seconds. So they got 5-second more cooldown and less mana return. Oh, it's actually, they changed it again, 33, 55, 80. I don't know which one's accurate. The other one said 30, 50, 75. But either way, only a ritual nerf on Lich is like, okay, whatever. I mean, Nova's the big problem, and Frost Armor's always been strong, especially as like a one of, like you only need 1 point in Frost Armor to get huge value. So Ritual's like whatever. So yeah, overall, Undead gets very small nerfs besides the statue nerf, which is a big nerf. And we'll see how much that comes into play. I think Undead will still be strong at top level. I think Orc will be probably even stronger at top level. I think Elf will be. I think Elf's the hardest to tell because of the immolation change and the piercing crow form stuff. Seeing if they actually get use or value, or if they do nothing. If they do nothing, then Elf's just kind of nerfed. If these do provide value, then maybe Elf has like slight buff overall. It's whatever. Human gets a bunch of buffs, but not on like huge things like clap, I guess, or rifles or whatever. So we'll see how it comes into play. The peasant health is big because peasants have a lot of health now. Wanda mana stealing to 65 could be big in the early game. and could have stayed at like 60 maybe instead of 65, but I think it's an all right change. Wand of Illusion loses a charge, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, I think pretty similar to the last time I talked about it, where I would say Orc and Undead are at the top, and then Human and Elf are below. But as far as Elf goes, like I mentioned, these changes, the piercing damage crows and immolation in general, I think those are the changes that still require like the most actual gameplay to figure out how much it matters. Blade Master Mirror Image as well requires some gameplay to figure out how much it matters, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting patch. Very small changes overall. They got rid of a lot of the radical changes, which might indicate this is like just a final patch in general. They might not even do more patches. Yeah, this might be the last patch Warcraft gets. We'll see. But it's something. This is the big one. Statue nerf for mana. But Undead should still be strong overall, especially for like Ghoul Garg strategies or Ghoul all-ins and stuff, because those things don't even get affected by that. So yeah. And then Human tier 3. We'll see if Human tries more tier 3 or not. And then altar heroes are better overall, and reviving from altar is also better, so that'll be interesting too. That's pretty much it for the patch. There's not much more to say. I mean, obviously there wasn't much changes this time compared to before, so yeah. We'll see how it goes.